On behalf of MAPS community, I would like to welcome you all and greet you with the Islamic greeting. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, which means peace and blessings of God be upon you all. In the past week, we witnessed two events and two characters. One event marked the passing of an American Muslim legend. The other event marked yet one more terror attack on America by a Muslim loner. One event brought us all together. The other event threatens to rip us apart. One event was celebrated worldwide with hope and a sense of pride. The other event has cast gloom and a sense of despair. One event marked progress for humanity. The other event marked a backslide for humanity. One character stood against injustice in spite of great threat, harm, and loss to his own self. The other character caused injustice, harm, and loss to all of us. One character sought diversity, freedom of faith, and championed individual rights. The other character spewed hate at others and violated our collective rights. One character throughout his life sought the advice and teachings of learned men and scholars. The other character picked up his ideology online during a radicalization period from dubious sources. One character was so loved that Muslims across this country, including in this mosque, gathered in throngs and cried at his funeral. The other character will have a hard time finding a Muslim mosque to bury him. Both these characters call themselves Muslims. My question tonight, though, is, did they both belong to Islam? To answer this question, I want to talk about two worldviews, that of Muhammad Ali and that of the terror. First, let's discuss the worldview of Muhammad Ali. Like Ali, there are 1.6 billion people around the world who belong to the religion of Islam and who call themselves Muslims. That is 23% of the world population. Nearly 1 out of 4 humans alive is a Muslim. These people live in every country on earth. In the United States, there are 6 to 7 million Muslims, and by 2050, Muslims will form the second largest faith-based group in the country. There are mosques in every state, and a dozen or so mosques in and around Seattle alone. This mosque, where we are meeting here today, is the largest in the state of Washington and serves over 5,000 Muslim families hailing from 40 different countries. Our congregation comprises of people whose ancestors have been in the country since its foundation, to the immigrants who came in the past decades, to the refugees who arrived last month and yesterday. So who are we? We are the entrepreneur who is pioneering new technologies at local startups. We are the executive at the largest area companies. We are the cleaners who clean your offices at night. We are the cab driver who takes you to the airport. We are the doctor and the nurse who will treat you in the ER. We are the teacher who teaches your kids in school. We are the real estate agent who will sell your home. And we are the checkout person at your local grocery store. We are the barista at the local coffee shop. And we are your everyday neighbor. When you look around, you will find us. What is that we believe in? We believe in one benevolent God, Allah in Arabic, who is most merciful towards his creation. We believe that God instructed humankind over time through different prophets. We believe that Abraham was a prophet, that Moses was a prophet, that Jesus was a prophet, and Muhammad, peace be upon all of them, was a prophet. We believe that the teachings of the God as given to many of these prophets are recorded in books. We believe that Torah, the Bible, and the Quran are all the books that originated from God. What are those teachings? We believe that these teachings tell us how to lead a life that is centered around the worship of God, around the family, and around the community. We believe that these teachings instruct us to lead a good and moral life, to love others, that which we love for ourselves, to be kind and respectful, and to care for the needy, and to be concerned about life matters. We believe that the teachings of Islam, above all, preach peace, for the name Islam itself means peace. We believe that this peace is peace with God, peace with ourselves, peace with our fellow believers, peace with our neighbors, and the peace with the rest of humanity. It is no coincidence that one of the most often verse from the Quran, repeated verse from the Quran reads, "O you who have believed, enter into peacefulness, the whole of you." Based on these simple tenets, for 14 centuries, Muslims have contributed greatly to the world, from whole civilizations that have charted our collective history to the local shopkeeper who remains honest in his dealings with you. This is the Islam that the vast majority of 1.6 billion people worldwide is familiar with. This is the Islam that all of us here know, understand, and practice. This is the Islam of Muhammad Ali. Now, let's take a look at the worldview of the terror. Terrorism is carrying of violent acts that aim to intimidate or coerce a civilian population, or that aim to affect the conduct of a government. By its very definition, terrorism is the antithesis of Islam. As it seeks to disturb peace, violence is not peace, as clearly as night is not the day. The question then is, why are so many so-called Muslims engaging in terror? To approach this question in a facile manner, seeking a simplistic answer could be both erroneous and dangerous. But let me try to explain it in this way. The underlying root causes of terror often span a range of personal, psychological, societal, economic, and political issues with Islam, then spread as a veneer on top of these deeper, uglier motives. Credibility is given to these underlying causes by narrowly selecting bits and pieces of evidences from the 14th century history or the expansive teachings of Islam. The real problem then is those who engage in terror often cannot detect the veneer, that is Islam, from the underlying root causes. They see the causes as Islam. And there is no dearth of despicable advantage seekers in the world who happily advance this seeming linkage between these causes and Islam and portray the causes themselves as Islam. It is then no surprise when we hear of a terrorist groups being very active on social media or publishing glossy magazines. It is no surprise then when we hear that the terrorists, whether in Orlando or Brussels or Paris, are often disaffected youth with profligate lifestyles and little formal religious education. It further does not help when pundits and politicians too cannot or will not differentiate between the underlying rotten root causes and Islam itself. When they keep insisting that the two are but one, they are too being myopic and parochial in their understanding of this problem. So what is at stake here? First, clearly terrorism threatens all of us. Starting with all of us here at home, terrorism threatens our lives, our freedoms, our rights, and our future. Second, terrorism is a scourge on the Muslims abroad. At least 1.3 million Muslims have been killed and 9 countries devastated by the ongoing war on terror, creating the largest number of refugees in the world after the World War II. Thirdly, this worldview of terror threatens Islam itself. It is not the first time that Islam is encountering these splinter ideologies. Islamic history teaches us that the early Muslim leaders dealt harshly with such groups. The cousin of the Prophet, Ali ibn Abi Talib, eponymous hero of Muhammad Ali, dealing with the Khariji is one famous example. Terrorism threatens the very fabric of diversity, tolerance, and equal rights in the West. It spawns hate and generates more fear. It feeds the vicious and never-ending cycle of violence. In the past few days, we lived through such fear right here in this mosque. On Sunday, an anonymous caller tipped the Redmond police about a potential but credible threat to this facility. The Redmond police, the Redmond Fire Department, the FBI, and the local and federal law enforcement agencies deployed immediately to ensure the security of our community. Under their watch, 350 of us prayed safely. I said it in my statement yesterday, and I will say it again today. The professionalism and the courtesy of our enforcement agencies is truly commendable. I'm sincerely grateful to them. I ask you to join me in thanking them. Thank you. Mayor John Marchion's leadership during this event was exemplary. He personally came here on Sunday night to ensure we were safe. It feels really great to live in a city where we all feel like one big family. Please applaud for Redmond Mayor. We have received an outpouring of support from people everywhere. Governor Jay Inslee personally called me to express his support. And we have been receiving continuous emails from Senator's office, from our interfaith friends, from ordinary citizens expressing support towards the Muslim community. Some supporters with placards showed up in front of our mosque yesterday. Rabbi Johanna Kinberg, I'm not sure if you are here, and her congregation volunteered to stand outside while we pray inside. We are indeed grateful to all those who are reaching out to us. We are truly touched by your unwavering and sincere support. Thank you. The worldview of terror impacts us all. There is no room for terror in Islam, in the East, in the West, and in the modern world, period. How then do we ensure that it is the Islam of Muhammad Ali and not the worldview of terror that prevails? The task is one that we as humanity should all shoulder. We should come together as one voice and denounce it in absolute terms, these terrorist acts. We should stand together whenever diversity, tolerance, and individual liberties are threatened. We should come together when minority groups, whether LGBTQ, Black, Latinos, or Muslims, or any minority, are threatened. And once more, we express our deepest feeling of sympathy to our friends and families of the victims of Orlando massacre and the LGBTQ community. We should be better at teaching vulnerable young men and women the true message of Islam before those with an agenda get them online. We should not tolerate deviant ideologies. This mosque and many others have repeatedly called out of these false beliefs. I have repeatedly said that such ideologies are ignorant, wrong, destructive, twisted, sinful, murderous, and have absolutely no place whatsoever in Islam. We should not tolerate pundits and politicians associating and conflating Islam with terror. We should denounce politicians and all those who would cast collective guilt on a whole community for the acts of a few. We should identify people who has mental and personal issues and get assistance to them. We should make sure we do not sell them guns. We should demand that our government encourage the freedoms and equal democratic rights we so cherish here abroad. and we should pray for peace. I would like to conclude by leaving you with 3 takeaways and thinking points from the life of Muhammad Ali. First, be resolute and firm in your stance against bigotry, racism, and the violence that it generates. Stand up for the weak, the voiceless, the minority. Muhammad Ali said, "Service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth." Do something positive about the issues we face. Join your faith group, join a non-profit, join a political movement, but do not sit back and do nothing and expect somebody else to improve the things for us. Second, be the best at whatever you do. Muhammad Ali said, "I would have been the world's greatest at whatever I did. If I were a garbage man, I would be the world's greatest garbage man ever. I would pick up more garbage and faster than anyone has ever seen. To tell you the truth, I would have been the greatest at whatever I have done." Do not be satisfied with mediocrity. Strive for the best, achieve excellence. Third, do not be discouraged by all the setbacks that we face. Muhammad Ali said, "Only a man who knows what it is like to be defeated can reach down to the bottom of his soul and come up with extra ounce of power it takes to win when the match is even." Use these challenges as a reason to be more active, to do more good, to be better human beings. As we gather here today, as we reflect before we break our fast, I implore all of you to join us as we defeat this worldview of terror and produce men and women the likes of Muhammad Ali. Thank you for your attention. May God bless all of you.